Posterior, the back, and the lateral side, the thumb side, are the wrist extensors. They will move the wrist as well as the fingers. So they will do extension at the wrist and extension of the fingers. The wrist extensors as a group of muscles, and again, they come to a common point onto the humerus. The wrist extensors, posterior and lateral onto the forearm. So these are the wrist flexors. So the wrist flexors are on the anterior, the front, and the medial, inside the little finger side of the forearm. The wrist flexors as a group of muscles. So they all come to this common point onto the humerus. The wrist flexors. So they will move the wrist as well as the fingers. Still onto the forearm, the lateral side, brachioradialis. Brachioradialis. So it comes from the humerus and comes down onto the radius. It does not cross over the wrist. So the only joint that it will activate is the elbow. And primarily what that does is give you something to eat, something to drink. Flexion at the elbow in a mid or a neutral position. Brachioradialis. Onto the upper arm, biceps brachii. Whilst this muscle is in front of the humerus, it doesn't actually attach to it. Biceps brachii. It will do flexion at the elbow. It will also do supination at the elbow. Biceps brachii, but it does not attach to the bone underneath there. Here we can see the short head of the biceps, which goes up to the coracoid process of the scapula, and the long head goes to the glenoid tubercle, the supraglenoid tubercle. Long head, short head, and then it comes down onto the radius, the radial tuberosity. And again, it does not attach to the humerus. Underneath that is brachialis, and brachialis does attach to the humerus. That also goes onto the ulna, brachialis. Biceps brachii does not attach to the humerus. Brachialis, the muscle underneath, does, and it also goes on to the ulna as well. Flexion at the elbow, brachialis, that's all it does. Muscle running parallel with the short head of the biceps is coracobrachialis. Coracobrachialis. It attaches to the coracoid process and comes down to the medial border of the humerus. Coracobrachialis. Adduction and flexion at the shoulder. Coracobrachialis. Triceps. Triceps, there are three heads. There is a lateral head and a medial head underneath the aponeurosis. It's quite a big muscle underneath the aponeurosis. The lateral head and the medial head attach to the humerus. The long head goes up underneath and attaches onto the scapula. Lateral head, medial head have an attachment onto the humerus. The long head goes onto the scapula, and then they all come onto the ulna, the olecranon process. Triceps, extension at the elbow. As a group of muscles, they will do extension at the elbow. Biceps, this is the lateral head. Underneath the aponeurosis is the medial head and the long head. And the long head goes up onto the scapula. Lateral head, the medial head, the middle-sized head, and the long head. Extension at the elbow, so they come onto the olecranon process.